Hi all, most beginners get confused in Java because of one thing, that is variables. So by the end of this video, you will be able to create and use variables confidently. So what is a variable? Think of it as a simple box and the name of the box is age. And inside this box, we are storing the value 21. So in programming, this box is called variable. Int age equals to 21. In Java, we create this box using this line of code. So what is int? This tells Java what type of value this box can store. What is age? This is the name of the box. What is double equal to? This means we are assigning a value. What's 21? This is the value we are storing inside the box. So whenever you see creating a variable in Java, just imagine a label box storing some value. Now here's where things get interesting. Variables don't just store numbers, they store different types of data. So if you want to store whole numbers, we can use int. If you want to store text, we can use string. If you want to store decimal numbers, we can use double. Now let's see how these variables actually work inside a real Java program. So here I have created a class called Java variables example and I have created a public static void main method. So inside this I will now create variables. Integer age equals to 21, let me give. Then string name as, let me give my name Vaibhav, and I will create one more variable double. Salary equals to, let's give 25,000.50, and now let's print this. Sysout enter, and let's print. First we'll print age, then we will print name, and then we will print salary. So we created three variables. Now let's just run it. So you can see the values are printed. For age 21, string Vaibhav, and for double it is 25,000.50. So one more important point is we can change the value of variables. So suppose what I will do now, I will do age as 25, and now let's again print the value. Now let's just run again and see. So you can see we can change the value of variable. So previously it was 21 and after change it becomes 25. So this is one more important point. Now let me show a very common mistake that beginners make. So let's put age in double quotes. So what do you think what will happen here? It is giving us compile time error. Its required type is int and we are providing string. So even though if you try to run this program, you will get an error. Incompatible types, string cannot be converted to int. So this will give you an error because int can only store numbers and 21 inside quotes is a text. So text belongs to string. So now let's see another mistakes which beginner make. I'm creating integer age as 25. So what mistake we have done here, we are declaring the same variable name again. So here we are getting compile time error. Variable age is already defined in scope, and even if you try to run this program, you will get an error saying variable age is already defined in main method. So what we can do, we can remove this int. So this time no compile time error we get and the program will run successfully. We are getting values 25. So if you understand this, you already know more than most beginners. So before we finish, let's quickly go through some important rules for naming convention. So rule number 1 is a variable name cannot start with a number. So here if you try to put a number, you will get compile time error, cannot resolve symbol age. But we can use the same number after first characters, means after a you can put number 1, and if you try to print the value, we will not get any error. Let me show you. See, we are getting value as 21. So similarly, if you try to put the number after second character, it will also work fine. See, nothing error we are getting. And if you try to put the number after third character, we are not getting any error. Let me show you. Yeah. So this was the rule number 1. So rule number 2 is variable names cannot contain spaces. Let me show you. If I try to put space, we are getting compile time error, cannot resolve symbol age. Instead of space, you can use two symbols. First is dollar symbol. Let me try to print this value. We are getting the output as 21. And another is underscore symbol. So this is also allowed. Let me try to print the value. Yeah, even though these two symbols are used, in real projects we don't use these symbols. So rule number 4 now is reserved words, that is keywords, cannot be used as a variable name in Java. Let me show you. So instead of age, if I put it as a class and try to print this value, let's see what happens. It is showing not a statement. So this class is already a predefined keyword which is used in Java. So you cannot use this as a variable name. Similarly, if I try to put another keyword which is used in Java, still the same. If I try to put another keyword, static keyword, still the same. We will get the same error. Let me just try to show you. See, not a statement. So here I have shown you only 3 keywords, but in Java there are a lot of keywords, and if you try to use it as a variable, you will get error. So remember this. So friends, I have written complete source code of these 3 types of variables. So I have shared the complete source code in the pinned comment. You can copy it and directly run in your IntelliJ IDEA. Now let me just try to explain you real world example. I have created a class bank account. I have created a 3 variables. 2 are local, 1 is instance variable. So these types of variables I will be explaining in the upcoming videos. I have created a method deposit which contains 1 local variables and it does some calculations for balance. So after this method I have created display account details which actually print out the account holder name, balance and bank name. Inside the main method, this is where the program execution starts. I have created 2 objects, ACC1 and ACC2, which sets the value of instance variable, and it calls the deposit method, pass some value and prints the account holder details. Now let's start with the first type, instance variables. So what are instance variables? Instance variables are the variables that belongs to an object. They are declared inside the class but outside any methods or constructor. So here I have created 2 variables, string account holder name and double balance. So these variables are inside the class but outside methods. So these are instance variables. So these variables you can see here, it is inside the class. So class start from here till last. So it is declared inside the class but outside methods. So here you can say deposit is the method, display account details is another method, and we have a main method. So outside the method these variables are declared. Now for this instance variables, account holder name and balance, in main method, let me just scroll down, we have created 2 objects, ACC1 and ACC2. So each object gets its own separate copy of instance variables. That's why Rahul and Priya have different balances. You can see here Rahul, whose account balance is 5000, and Priya, whose account balance is 8000. Now another important point, instance variables get default values if you don't assign them. Let me show you. I will comment out this first object value. I will comment out this also, and I will comment out deposit also, since it is calculating the value. So if I try to run this example, for object 1 I have commented out few things. So let's see the output. So you can see for the first object, account holder name, which was string, whose default value is null, and balance, whose data type was double, whose value printed is 0.0. So for double, if you don't assign any value, for instance variables default value is 0.0. For integer it will be 0. For string, it will be null. So now friends, uncomment the changes which we have done. Now the another important point related to instance variables are access modifiers. So for these two instance variables, we can use access modifiers like public, private or protected. So what are access modifiers, we are going to see in upcoming videos. So here we are using access modifier as public to one variable and private to another variable. So if you use this access modifier and try to run the program, you will get the output. See, program runs successfully and we got the output. Now the next important point related to instance variables are lifetime or scope of instance variables. So instance variables live as long as the object exists. When the object is destroyed, these variables are also destroyed. So the final point for instance variables is that in terms of memory, instance variables are stored inside heap memory. So now let's understand what are static variables. So what are static variables? Static variables are variables that belong to the class, not to individual objects. They are declared using static keyword. So you can see here in our example bank account, we have created static variable called bank name, whose bank name is SBI. So here this variable is declared inside the class and uses the static keyword. So that makes it static variable. Now since we have created a static variable called bank name whose value is SBI, now let's go to main method. In main method we have created two objects. One is ACC1 and second is ACC2. So here we are not setting any value for bank name because since it is a static variable, it will share only one copy. This means no matter how many objects are created, that is ACC1 or ACC2, the bank name remains the same. That's because static variables have only one copy shared by all objects. So if you try to run this program, you will get the output as SBI. So if you can see, for bank account holder name Rahul, you can see bank name is SBI. For bank account holder name Priya, bank name is SBI. So the next important point related to static variables are static variables can be accessed using class name. So how? Let me just show you. Let me just scroll down and type s out, press enter and type bank account dot bank name. So what we have done here, bank account is our class name and this is static variables. So we can use class name dot variable name directly instead of creating objects like bank account ACC1 equals to new bank account or bank account ACC2 equals to new bank account. So without using new keyword also, you can directly access. So the syntax is class name dot variable name. So now let me just try to run this program. So you can see at last we got the output SBI. So now the next important point for static variables are default value. So the default value of static variables are similar as instance variables. Let me just try to show you. So here we have one static variable string bank name called SBI. So if I try to remove this value and if try to run this program, let's see what is the output for bank name. So the output for bank name is null. So the default value for static variables are similar to instance variables as I have told you. So this value was string, so it is null. For integer it will be 0, for double it will be 0.0, for boolean it will be false. So now the next important point for static variable is access modifier. So similar like instance variables, you can use access modifiers like private, public and protected. So here I am using private because in real application static variables are usually declared private. So if I try to declare here as private and try to run the application, it will still run. You can see we got the output successfully. So now the next point for static variables are memory area. So where does the static variable actually stores? Static variables are actually stored in the class area, which is also called as method area. So the final summary for static variables are static variables belongs to class, only have one copy, they have the default value and they shared across all the objects. So friends, what are local variables? Local variables are the variables that are declared inside method, constructor or block. So you can see here we have a class bank account and we have a method deposit. Inside this deposit we have declared our local variable. So since it is local variable and is declared inside method constructor or blocks, so if you try to access outside the method, let's see what happens. So if I'm writing here sysout and I'm trying to print the transaction fee, you can see here this is our transaction fee variable and we are trying to access outside the method. So here we are getting compile time error, cannot resolve symbol transaction fee, create local variable transaction fee. This means local variables cannot be accessed outside the method. So friends, let's remove this part because we already know local variables are declared inside method constructor or blocks. So now let's discuss on another important point, that is default value. So what will be the default value of local variable? Unlike instance variables and static variables, local variable does not get default value. So value should be provided before we use them. Let me just try to show you. So let me just try to remove this value, default value, and let me just try to print it. So see here we are getting compile time error saying variable transaction fee might not have been initialized. So Java gives you compile time error because local variables must be initialized before use. So every time when you use local variables, you need to give some default value. So let me just try to give again the default value as it is. And this time if I put sysout and try to print the value, you will get the output. It will run successfully basically. Yeah, see. Now let's discuss another important point for local variables, that is memory. So local variables are stored inside static memory, whereas we have seen instance variables is stored inside heap memory. Okay. So now let's discuss another important point for local variable, that is access modifiers. So local variables cannot use access modifiers like public, private and protected, which we are using for instance or static variables. And even if you try to do that, let's see what happens. Private double transaction. So see here if you are using private, it is showing modify private not allowed here. So this means for local variables we cannot use access modifiers. So friends, to summarize this video, local variables are declared inside methods, have limited scope, must be initialized before use and exist during method execution. So now we all know that instance variables belongs to object, static variables belongs to class and local variables belongs to methods. So friends, we have completed different types of variables in Java. If you still have any doubts, you can put all your doubts into comment section. I will try to answer it whenever I get free time. So friends, if you are new to my channel, I am creating Java tutorial videos from beginner level and that too from scratch. So if you don't want to miss any update for my upcoming videos, don't forget to subscribe my channel. Also like, share, comment on the content if this video bring out any benefit to you. Happy learning with Java and see you in the next video.